30 days ago, I did my first ever FTP tests. If you haven't already seen how those went, go check them out because you're about to get a lot of spoilers. So in my first tests, I did the ramp test and the 20-minute test. For the ramp test, I got 181 watts, and for the 20-minute test, I got nothing because I couldn't complete it and had to quit after just 1 minute. So what have I learned since the last time? 1. Get a fan. 2. Warm up. 3. The ramp test does not go to the minute, it goes to the second. And 4. These tests are not meant to be fun, they are meant to break you. Oh, and 5. Don't do these after a really long and hot day when you're really tired. Don't do that. So let's see how much has changed after 30 days of cycling. I'm pretty confident I'll beat the 181 watts I got last time, as I've got more fit since then, I've got more endurance in my legs now, and I know what it's like to push different watts. Even if I improve by only 1 watt, it's a win to me. That doesn't mean I don't want more, just that anything is a positive that I will learn from. My heart rate is 121, which is 19 BPM lower than a month ago when I started the test, which to me is already a win. It shows my training has been paying off already. Honestly, starting this off I was way less nervous, as I know what the test is like now, and I've done some routing, so I feel a lot more comfortable at this pace with a much lower heart rate than this pace last time. At 140 watts, this is still feeling really easy and like a warm-up, and once again, my heart rate is still 20 beats per minute lower than it was last time. $160. Still quite easy, but I'm starting to get a bit warmer now with my heart rate rising and seemingly matching my watts still. At this rate, I'm hoping my heart rate doesn't match my watts when I get to 240. My biggest focus throughout this was keeping my cadence consistent. I've learned quite a lot with cadence and what feels comfortable for me, and I either like sticking around 70 RPM when pushing low watts, and between 90 to 80 RPM when I'm trying to keep a good consistent pace when pushing higher watts. When I'm feeling good, I know I can keep this up for quite a while, and when my cadence starts dropping, I know my legs are reaching their limit. At 200 watts, I'm still feeling pretty good, which makes me even more confident as I know I was struggling a lot here last time. I feel like I have a lot left in the tank, and I'm 100% sure that I can beat my previous result. Now at 220, my heart rate is only 10 BPM lower than last time, but this is still pretty good for me and shows how much fitter I've got over this past month. It was at this wattage last time that I almost stopped the test, but I pushed through it and managed to get a little bit further. This time, I'm actually starting to feel the fatigue in my legs a bit faster, but there's still nowhere near stopping or slowing down. 240 watts. This was my breaking point last time. I feel so much better this time, but I could feel that my legs are still very weak on the endurance side. My cadence is still good. If anything, it's too high, which is a good sign for me, but also a bit of wasted energy now that I look back at it. I'm keeping between 80 and 90 RPM, but I can feel the weight getting heavier slowly, and then from slowly to very quickly. Last time I had to go all out to get 240 complete, but this time I know I can get through it. Cadence is good, heart rate is high, legs are starting to feel really tired, but my morale is really high. I broke here before last time, and right now I'm thinking about the next range as I've mentally already beaten 240. 260. Unknown territory for me. I feel like I still have the fitness to go much further, but my legs are starting to get heavier and heavier. My cadence slowly starts to drop as my legs turn to cement, and I mean quick drying cement, because they become so heavy in a matter of seconds. I'm now having to use all of my energy to keep my legs spinning and to try to keep my cadence up, as I feel like my legs are now too heavy to keep pushing, and I feel like if I drop under 80 RPM here, I'm finished. At the end of 260, I'm really struggling to keep my pace, and my legs are so heavy now, and due to having to push so much harder suddenly, I've very quickly lost all extra fitness I thought I had left in the tank. Now, I know it's to the second and not to the minute, but this really just happens to be where my legs gave out and I couldn't do any more. So after 30 days, my FTP went from 181 to 196. This is a really big improvement, and honestly it feels really rewarding. I'm pretty stoked with that progress. The biggest lesson I learned here was that I really need to start doing some longer rides. I've mainly been doing like 1 hour zone 2 rides and some races. So I noticed that my actual fitness is a lot stronger than my legs currently are. My legs drained so much quicker, and then I had to use so much energy trying to keep them moving, and that ended up just draining me. And yes, I know this test isn't extremely accurate for everyone, but for some people it is. Personally, I prefer this test as it's a really hard push, and you get to push yourself to the point of breaking a lot quicker. Not because it's easier. With that being said, the 20-minute test, which, yay, I'm so excited for. I'm so keen. Honestly, not keen for this at all. I don't like this test. It's not suited to me. I know it's meant to break you. But yeah, I'm pretty nervous again just because I know what it did to me last time. So yeah, needless to say, I'm really not keen for this, but I'm obviously going to have to give it a go and see what's changed. The thing I'm not keen for is that I'm not sure if I could still manage this to get 181 watts as my FTP, and now I have a much higher FTP, or much higher for me. So golly, I don't even know how this is going to go, or I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I guess we'll find out. My plan is to hopefully start a bit easier, ease into it with lower watts, and then second half, if I'm feeling okay or if I have more, then start pushing harder to get to the end rather than gassing out early. Okay, so this warm-up completely broke me and drained me last time, so I'm taking it slightly easier, as once my heart rate and body temperature go up, they tend to stay there, so I'm saving my energy a bit. I know some people won't be impressed with me taking it easier on the warm-up, as it's meant to make you feel tired to simulate an hour worth of riding in the legs, but this type of test just doesn't suit me at all. We've already established my legs are in desperate need of endurance training, so I'm just trying to do what I can to get through this. Also, the fact that my FTP is definitely not 196 also makes a big difference here. Since my last attempt at this, I've done a bit of riding with a few races in there. In my last race, I averaged 170 watts for 32.5 minutes, and my highest 20-minute power of 173 watts. So I'm more familiar with pushing myself for prolonged periods, so hopefully I can do a lot better this time and do better than literally 1 minute of the test. Honestly, I'm still not a fan of this warm-up as it's making the legs burn a bit already. I find this fairly confusing though, as I'm getting used to pushing much higher watts than 165 and 175 now, but in this test it just seems to feel so much harder for some reason. I'm not sure if it's because it's like a test situation and I've never tested well, or if it's just because it's a massive jump in watts from 75 to 165 that makes it suddenly feel a lot harder in comparison. Also to note, I did have a slight headache for most of this day that I thought had gone away until a few minutes from now when it got much worse. Through the warm-up, as usual, my focus is being comfortable and keeping my RPM steady and consistent. So I am feeling a bit of burning in the legs already, but I am still feeling fine. Mentally, I'm at the start of the test, just waiting to see what happens, as I still have no idea, but I have a lot of optimism. Okay, here we go. At the start, I'm not actually sure what watts I want to push yet. I kind of just want to see what feels comfortable, but I see the watts keep jumping, so it's pretty inconsistent right now, and I don't really know what to do to get into a good rhythm here. So I'm trying to stay in the mid-80s for my RPM, and the watts are still jumping all over the place, which just really isn't helping me here. Still not too sure what to do, as I was hoping to have a consistent wattage so that I can find a good rhythm, stick to it, and see what feels good for me. So now looking back at this, I've realized another massive problem for this. I had ERG mode on. This means the trainer tries to keep certain wattages and control the trainer so that you can change your RPM but stay in your similar watt range. For this test, I don't think it's a good idea at all. I found my watts to be incredibly inconsistent during this test, which was really confusing as it kept jumping around, so I was never sure whether or not to keep the same cadence or to push harder. I think being able to free ride here is the way to go, so you can literally go at your own pace, see what feels good and what's comfortable for you. I keep going anyways because this was me at this point last time. So I do a small celebration as I get to the 2-minute mark because honestly, that's a small victory for me already. 3.5 minutes in, my average is around 177 watts, which is kind of where I expect it to be, even though that's much lower than it should be for this test, especially if I want to be near 190. I'm just trying to do some damage control to make sure I make it to the end and push hard in the last few minutes to drain the tank. Five minutes in and I'm still at 177 watts average, which is actually fairly decent for me and gives me some good hope for the rest of this. But I must say that I'm definitely eyeing that timer like crazy, and I'm really wanting to be closer to the end. I go up to 178 very briefly, but I'm not feeling the best now already, so I have to drop off quite a bit for a bit of a breather and to rest the legs. I then have to stick to lower watts as I'm really feeling it now, and I'm trying to conserve some energy as I'm not even halfway yet and my headache has come back and it's a lot stronger than before. This kind of continues happening. I'm finally about to hit the halfway mark, which feels like 20 minutes already, but it's still much further than I managed before, but I'm still at a much lower average over 10 minutes than I held for half an hour a week ago. I'm still slowly dropping in watts and the watts are still being very erratic. Now I'm about to be 13 minutes in. My legs are really struggling, and with the constant pedaling with no break at all, I decide to try and take a few seconds of a breather to give my legs some life again, as this usually works for me, like a small reset.
I've got a headache, legs are tired, don't feel good.
5 minutes left, 161 watt average, which is really low, but I'm still here. And I'm thinking here that I want to start pushing all out for the last 5 minutes, but as 5 passes, I decide it isn't time to push just yet, as I won't make it to the end if I do this now, so I just keep going for now, but I'm still really struggling. At this point I'm pretty defeated already, but I'm not the kind of person that gives up even if I'm mentally defeated. I'll just keep pushing through it, even if it really sucks. Around 3 minutes to go, I decide this is now the time to push to the end. There are only 3 minutes left, and in my races, I usually put on a song to hype me up at this point, and I give everything until the end. That being said, I am really feeling so drained, tired, and broken now. My headache has only got worse, and my legs are not appreciating this at all. As I get to 2 minutes left, I kinda break. But there's only just over a minute left, so I have to keep pushing. Almost at the end now, I decide to push again for the rest of it, but I'm running on fumes now. My heart rate being at 191 here is actually the biggest surprise. It's usually at 200 at this point since me pushing for so long. I've gained 1 watt back on my average with this push, but 1 minute left here feels agonizingly long, but I can't give up now. So close to the end. I go up 1 more watt. 20 seconds left, another watt gained, and what feels like 2 kilometers left, I go into my final push to make sure I have nothing left to give. I gain another watt, and then I finally made it to 20, but I didn't do well at all. My new FTP, 155. So this is not what I was hoping for at all, but then for whatever reason, my FTP went up by 1 right after exiting the test. I have no idea how or why this happened. So to put this performance into perspective, these are my best power output numbers based on time, and you can kind of see how they compare. I can and have done a lot better than this, and like in the last 2-3 weeks as well. So how do I feel about this result? Well, I finally managed to finish a test I could barely even start 1 month ago, and despite being fully broken at the end, I managed to raise my average 1 watt at a time. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that progress. I take that as a small victory. So even though my result wasn't great, I now mentally know what it's like to do this test finally, and on top of that, I got to ride and grow my fitness. So with the 2 test results being 196 and 155, that's a difference of 41, which is actually really big. So while this isn't really close or show which test is best, I still feel like the 20-minute test is probably the more accurate test for most people, as you are actually sustaining that power for a prolonged period. That being said, I don't think either of these tests are really accurate for me. Considering I held 171 watts for 32.5 minutes in my last race, I feel like my FTP is probably closer to 180. Which would mean that for me, the ramp test is actually more accurate. For now anyway. To me, this kind of just proves that the tests really do come down to preference and other factors like the heat, diet, sleep, hydration, and just your ride style. Either way, these results are close enough in range, for me at least, to use them as a base for training. Because that's what these tests are really for. Different people prefer the different tests, and the different tests suit people's ride styles better or worse. So use it literally to compare to yourself and not to other people, as it's not really meant to be compared to other people. It's just a guide for you to train from. Also note that in these last 30 days, I haven't been cycling like crazy. I am still just starting out, so I have to take breaks in between days, and I also got sick, so I didn't ride that much. So in those 30 days, I managed to cycle 11 times, and by doing so, I improved my FTP by 15 watts in the ramp test, and despite the bad result, I was able to finally finish the 20-minute test. So your results can definitely be higher within a month. If you're still here, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I really appreciate the support. So I'm going to keep posting a video every week. I have some races coming, and I'm also going to Cape Town now for 2 weeks, so expect some cinematic cycling content coming soon. Yeah, see you soon.